everyone.
Hello. Thank you for coming.
So, welcome to, this is the knit and natter on the highs and lows of running a mill. And we have the directors. Sonja, you have to stand up and say.
Actually?
Yeah?
Okay.
Just say hello.
Hello. My name's Sonja.
And we have Helena here. So the idea is that we're going to have like a 15-20 minute chat between us, just an introduction, and then if you have any questions after that, you can ask away. If you don't feel like raising your hand to ask a question, I'm going to pass around some bits of paper and some pens. So feel free to pop them down, and I will then collect in any questions that we've got. But we're a lovely small group, so if you feel like sticking your hand up and asking a question, go ahead and do that. I should have also maybe introduced myself as well. My name is Faye, and I design quite a lot with their lovely yarn, because I'm sure we can all agree that it is lovely and amazing, and it knits and crochets and spins and weaves beautifully. So that's how come I come to be here, and I also have a stand outside because I have Providence Craft Home is my stand. So I was really honoured to be asked to do this, because this is a lovely small team to be able to work with, and I think it's amazing that we've got this resource in the UK. So I'm pleased to be here also. Right, shall we ask you some questions?
I guess so.
So we've got just some questions to start off with, just so you can get to know what's happening with the mill. But is there anything that's out of bounds that people aren't allowed to ask questions about? I mean, private lives aside.
I don't think so, no.
I mean, we just won't answer.
Yeah,
it's
a secret. But we have actually bought some secret stuff.
We have.
Yeah, you are getting a sneak peek at some things no one else has seen yet, including Faye.
Exactly, we bought some very new secret things. So, yeah.
I'm as excited as you are, because I can see the colours.
You asked for them to come, didn't you?
I knew they were coming, but I haven't actually seen or squidged them. So will we be able to hand them around so people can have a proper? Okay, so
remove all the things from the table and pass them along as we.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So you're getting a real insider's treat today, and that's what you're getting. Lovely. Right. I would love to know, and I'm sure other people, how did you get into like the wool yarny world? What was your down the rabbit hole moment?
I started off. I asked my mum to teach me to knit because I was spending all my time watching TV, playing games on my phone, and went, I could be doing something better with my hands. So I did that, and then shortly after that I moved to London. There's a lot of yarn shops in London, there's a lot of other things. I also did that thing that loads of people do where they pick up a craft and they go, oh, there's all these other crafts that are alongside it or that you can do. So I fell deep into the spinning and dyeing and things and joined the London Guild of Spinners and was made the secretary. So yeah, 3 years I was secretary of London Guild. So I did a lot of spinning demonstrations and dyeing demonstrations and like trying different things, and like obviously we had a speaker every month there that would come and talk to us about these things. So it's just more and more and more things. I was quite good. I did not take up weaving, which is the next step.
So restrained.
Just don't have space for a loom, really.
I mean, you've got a mill though.
No room, there's really no room for a loom in there. I need a whole other building just to put the yarn that doesn't fit around the machines at the moment. But yeah, so that's what I was doing in London, and I was working horrible, boring office manager jobs that I did not like for companies I really did not like. And I went, I don't want to do this anymore. And I did the very classic thing of moving from London to the middle of nowhere, taking a huge pay cut to do something that's fun instead. And then I'm still there. So 6 years later, this is where we are.
Yeah, you're stuck now. You can't abandon me.
You know, when I started at the mill, there were about 6 members of staff, and we're up to about 15 now. Yeah. So when I started, I was running all of the machines.
What was your time span between learning to knit and ending up here? Just out of interest.
Probably from beginning learning to knit, maybe 13, 15 years ago. So it was only I was just sort of sitting around with my phone when I was like in my mid-20s-ish, something, I think, going, what should I do? And then, I moved to London, when I'm about 10 years ago. And I turned 40 in a week, so that is what I've been doing. And then, I came to the mill and I used to run all the machines. I am probably the only person now in the company who has done every job, because I came when there weren't very many people, so I had to do lots of different things. So I used to do helping, like selling things. I used to come to all of the shows, 6 years ago, because there were only two of us that could. It was probably many of you know Frankie, who used to work for us. It was either me or Frankie, and that was basically it on the shows, because there weren't any other staff that could do that. And then, I started running all of the machines, so I did the different sections on all of the machines. I used to run all of the wholesale, which I knows as a customer, which is now done by another girl called Rebecca, but I also still do that with her. So I've done sort of all the different things, and then in the past year or two, I've mostly become desk bound, but still go and cover for people as needed. But
Sonja,
So I have always been desk bound for the most part.
we
Not
let you play with the
entirely.
machines
That's true.
sometimes.
I get to play with the finished stuff, which is I do a very minimal.
On your
amount of
first day,
playing
we
with
let you
machines.
use Gino.
That's true, yeah. I think. So when did I learn to knit? I feel like my mum used to knit a lot when I was younger, so she probably just taught me when I was a little kid. And I've always quite liked making things, but I do remember making some leg warmers when I was 14, I think, and then I was like, oh, that's brilliant, and then just I know how to do that now, not interested anymore. And then when I went off to university, I was really into sewing and pottery. But you can't really, there's no space if you're in halls. So then I think I was like, oh yeah, I did knit once. And that's the beauty of knitting or crochet or spinning, if you've got a drop spindle, is it can technically be done with not very much kit. Obviously, in reality, one ends up with quite a lot of kit. But the theory of it is that you actually just need some bits of wood and then, some yarn or top. So I kind of picked it up again at university, and then I just needed a little Saturday job at university and sort of looked up all the craft shops in London, and then just happened to end up working at Loop. So Susan just was needed to hire someone, but when I turned up at Loop I was still using acrylic yarn, so that was quite a baptism. I remember in my first week I sort of was I don't know, mentioned acrylic to one of the customers at Loop, and they looked like I'd slapped them or something, and quite right too. And then I kind of worked at Loop and lived in London for a little bit. And then, like Helena said, at some point was I need to leave London. So then at that point, I, again, just was what is a craft-related job that I can leave London for? And then I just happened to end up working at the only other mill in the West Country, really, which is called Natural Fibre Company. And it's based in Launceston, and they have their own kind of yarn brand called Blacker Yarns. So I just ended up working there, I think about 8-9 years ago probably, and that was my first ever office job. I didn't know how to use a spreadsheet, so again it's I always seem to just sort of end up in the deep end, but that makes it exciting. Then I worked at Blacker for 4 years, 5 years, something like that, and then I've been here for 5 years. I guess it must have been 4 years at Blacker. So it's a very strange profession, but it's actually also kind of the only thing I've ever really done. So I've sort of been working at mills in one form or another for the best part of a decade now, really. So, yeah. And I love it. It's great. Why would you do anything else once you start?
Although things have changed, it's almost 12 months since you actually became co-owners of Arbon Textiles. So that's like, I can't believe it's been 12 months, to be honest. That's gone by in a flash.
We've got to do some accounting or something.
Oh, I know.
So we do.
Like, how do you split down your duties? I think you've probably already alluded to it, that desk bound. And you're...
I mean, I'm very desk bound. No, I mean,
So like, what do you do? Because a co-ownership structure, like from a business point of view, is actually quite unusual and it's really quite hard to manage. So you have to have two people that can do it together, get on well, take tough conversations, which you clearly can do. So like, how do you manage your day-to-day? What's the split of the work that you do as co-owners?
I manage the mill and most of the staff, basically all the staff that are based here in South Molton. So I'm doing all their HR and day-to-day, making sure everything's getting made on time and looking after the systems we've got, making sure everything gets made, and then when something doesn't get made, find out why. I sort of do all of from the managing point of view, I do all of the small bills. I pay the bills basically and do that side of things, and so looking after the wholesale day to day, being there to help with anything in the mill. And
I think you kind of do all the physical stuff, don't you? Like the tangible stuff, and then I do all the other things. Or I tend to do things that are project based, or I manage the retail, think about what specials are coming. We always work on all the specials together because that's the best bit. So it would be rude for one of us to do that by ourselves. That's the fun bit. But I will organise it happening and do all the marketing around it. And then the open weekend, I was in charge of organising all of this. So, and then if we do a one-off project, it'll probably be me that is kind of doing that. So yeah, it does divide, and I lead the marketing team, and I do shows as well.
The other thing I do is also everything that happens to the stuff before it gets to the mill.
Yeah,
that's the other side of things.
The fibre.
You're planning ahead what we've got to launch in 6 months, a year, and I'm planning ahead going, when do I have to buy this wool in order for it to be there then?
Yeah.
So, yes, I look after all the...
So what's your normal length from you having to order yarn to you leading it on Instagram and saying new stuff is coming, the allotment stuff? When did
minimum of 6 months
for something
some
big.
things up to 2 years.
I think we'd like to really widen that gap. So at the moment, in reality, it's probably about 6 months. But I think if we were a slicker operation, some of the magazines and things, they will work a year and a half in advance. So, in theory, one day it might be that at some point. My head might explode, because then you've got to do all the things before that as well. Yeah. But I think the way that Hells and I make it work is we're both quite radically honest, and we have a lot of respect that which section, if it's something where you're in charge, I will give my opinion, and if you don't want it, then that is fine,
And vice versa.
Yeah.
We're also quite good, because we've been working together for 5 years, we know what our skill sets are, so we know what Sonja is much better at doing, or I'm much better at doing, or that neither of us are any good at,
and we need to ask someone else
that's better at it.
Yeah.
We've discovered who's really good at drawing signs, because we've made them draw all of our signs for us. And Laura, who she's doing tours today, but might be here, I think she said tomorrow, she is our handy person. So she builds everything.
Yeah.
So we're very good at knowing who it is who's got certain skills. But between us, it's this is a Sonja job. I don't know how to do this.
So the next question I was going to ask is what your favourite jobs are, but actually I'm going to turn that round and say, what is the job that the other person does that you are so glad they do it because it would be the worst nightmare of a job to do?
I'm not particularly good at the marketing stuff. I do most of the editing and proofreading side of the marketing stuff. So I spend my life reading things going, Sonja, you spelt it wrong again. Or going, no one needs to know that about you, Sonja. We'll go something else. She's doing what I'm doing on my weekend plan. It's just like, cut this down, it's 3 paragraphs long. But Sonja does, like, again, writes all of like the original copy for things. So we sort of, it's that way round of like, I'm not necessarily very good at coming up with, a newsletter, for instance, or planning a sales stand. Like I'm very much more logistics because I come from a office management facilities point of view. So Sonja's going, I want it to look beautiful like this, and I'm going, is that going to be safe? Will that fall down? Will it fit in that space? So it's very much Sonja's going to go, I like this, and this is the vision, which I do less of because I'm down in the bottom going, have we got enough things?
How do we actually make this vision?
Do we have enough stuff for that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, Sonja, what does Helena do that you don't want to borrow?
I mean, I think the thing that Helena does that I'm just like most impressed by is just like remembering everything. You know, like I'm always there with like the new shiny idea. And then just that thing of like, okay, so how do we like break it down and how are we going to staff it? And like that thing of being like, if you want it to come in 6 weeks' time, then like we need to be spinning it this week. And like managing the schedule, I don't know how you manage the schedule.
It scares all the staff when they just go like, how does your brain hold this information? It's like, I don't know, it just does now. Again, a decade of working in office management and facilities, you get used to having 1,000 things going on and having to jump when something happens, but also knowing this thing's happening now, but we also need to know what we're doing next week when we've recovered from this, because otherwise no one will do any work.
Yeah, definitely. How do we not run out of yarn, you know? That's the thing that you do that's most impressive.
So then I'll come back to my original question. What is your favourite thing to do at the mill? Or not at the mill, because you also partially work from home as well, don't you?
Yeah.
So, like, what's your favourite job to do as part of being?
I think our favourite thing is our favourite thing is designing new colours of yarn and then naming them, which is also a very silly game.
And I can tell you now, I quite often get messages, and you'll get like, there's a new yarn range coming down. We started with like 35 and we've managed to win it down to 20. Like, it's a big job for these two to pull it
We're
down.
very bad. Again,
we're not very good.
Sonja just wants every yarn range to be 50 colours, and I'm like, we physically cannot have that many, we can't fit them in. And we will cry if we have to do that. So then we get it down. So this is new colours being added to Harvest Hues. We're retiring 3 of the existing colours of Harvest
Can you
Hues.
stand up so everyone at the back can see it?
We'll also pass them around in just a second. Yes, we're retiring 3 existing colours and then adding all of this plus
a natural.
We're retiring new leaf because we've got a replacement. Bramble and thistle because we've got replacements. So these are all coming out in October.
Yes.
They've not been named yet, that's how new they are.
So if you have a name suggestion, write it on a bit of paper, you might get lucky.
Yes, this one is going to be 22 colours because it was supposed to be 20, but Sonja refused to sacrifice any extra.
They're so beautiful though. The way I get around it is I tell Helena, because we make little recipes by blending up the fibre, and then we have to spin the recipes, and we basically end up, anything we commercially spin, we end up keeping for the most part, because at that point we've fallen in love with it.
Yeah, so a couple of these you will have seen a version of before. So the navy existed, and also the teal one is a version of a special we did about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and then the navy is lovely.
Are you hearing all of these oohs and ahs and what do you think of the colours that are coming forward? Yeah. There seems to be a real cohesion to the palette, and it looks slightly more earthy as well. It doesn't feel
so
bright.
Harvest Hues, the formula for it before, it had like a set formula the way you did the colours, so it was a third swarbles, and then a third one colour and a third another colour, but that means that they all ended up very mid-tone colours and quite bright. So these ones, we stuck within what would make Laura kill us for spinning it, but that means we split it, instead of having a third and a third, we split them down into sixths, so you could have like a 1 and a 3 to get a different thing, and added in white in some of them, which was in none of them before. They had no white in there, so that's how we've made it a little bit more balanced. And we played a lot of the game where you take the black and white photo and check which ones are light, which ones are dark, to go, have we got enough that are now at different ends of the spectrum?
Yeah, because most of the existing Harvest Hues colour palette is like mid-tones. So we were trying really hard to get some darker shades and some paler shades in there, because I think that's the other thing that like both Helena and I have arrived at it from being very avid crafters. So, that's always like, what are people actually going to make, and is it going to be useful, is always like at the forefront, for sure.
Designers too, so you've got that designer eye coming through in that pick of colours.
Yeah, and Harvest Hues had one colour revamp from its original 7 colours. We added an extra 5 previously. And so the original colours were done by John and Frankie, but then those other ones we added probably 4 years ago now were ones that I had put in, but again, sticking to the formula that we had then, but then we just decided that we're trying to get all of ours up to about 20. So this was the one that had its turn next, but this is most people at the mill's favourite yarn range, so everyone was quite excited by this one. And we've had a lot of sitting in the car park staring at all of them, where the light is best.
Yeah, that was the first thing you and I worked on, really, wasn't it? Was the new Harvest Hues colours.
A very long time ago.
I mean, they're not very new anymore.
I think it's fair to say people are enjoying new colours. Yeah.
Well, if anyone does have name suggestions,
we have counted all the skeins.
Yes.
I have eyes on you.
I was going to say, if they don't come back, we probably just won't make it. Because
Yeah, exactly.
we'll be like, oh, that must be all the colours.
That'll be your fault then. Shake everyone down at the door.
Is there anything else that you want to show people? Obviously, you've got has everybody had a look at the allotment DK that's come out as the mill special? It's beautiful. Helen, have you got some more samples that we can show around?
So this is on the How You Design Your Yarn game. This is the actual colours, all of the minis that are in the range that we've done. So there are 10 and 7 tops? 9 tops. 9 tops. Because it's a marl, you have to make twice as many colours to actually make what you want.
Yeah.
So this is, if you wanted to have a look at the actual colours, and then over here we have all of the different combos we tried to make before we decided. We made something like 60 different ones in total from the original 12 colours of tops. So we didn't make all of the colours of tops in the end because we managed to narrow it down a bit. But yeah, it was quite an interesting project.
It was.
And nobody at the mill ever wants to make a marl ever again.
Well, it all started from a bit of a, like the inspiration behind the marl and why we have made marls is that we've got 2, if any of you are going on a tour later or have already been on one, we've got 2 different spinners, and one of them's called Kevin and is very long, and the other one is Butler and is very small. And Kevin is always busy working, so anything that's a special or a one-off is easier to make on Butler, which is the smallest spinner. But our signature thing, colour-wise, I think, is having those like slightly more heathered shades. And those all have to be done on Kevin because Kevin spins straight from tops, whereas Butler has like a 2 or 3 machine system before things get to Butler. So the Harvest Hues and the Knit by Numbers are made on Butler, and the colours are much more blended. So the reason we decided to try and do Mars is because we wanted to end up with a fabric that would have that really nice heathering to it. And that basically is not possible on Butler unless you do that in the plies.
So yeah, this is Faye's pattern that she has done.
Shall I liberate that?
And yes, this one has 3 different colours in it, I think. It's the sort of black with some blue in it. So you can see what effect it makes when you knit it up. So it's one of those ones where you can look at it every stage of the process, all the way through to the finished thing, and it will look different every time. So it was very hard again designing the colours, because we would look at it in we would make like a little tiny sample and like spin a tiny bit, and then what you do on hand spinning with a tiny little fluff is not the same as what the machine kicks out as tops. And then once you do that every stage of the spinning, it looks slightly different. So until we actually knitted some, we didn't know what they were going to look like.
No, exactly.
It's
And
quite
even
a difficult process.
from the skein to the swatch, some of them look quite wacky in the skein, and then you knit it up and you're like, oh, actually that's like beautiful and elegant and subtle. So it's been a really fun learning experience. Really.
The one that's called Friendly Robin, which is the sort of yellow and pink one, looks completely different. It's because it's got such bright colours in it. It looks quite odd in the skein. You're like, oh, maybe, but then when you actually knit it, it becomes a lot more subtle because it's sort of got like an oaty background colour to it. But I didn't bring the other sample in. But there's a sample which is my cowl out there, which is stripy, which has got every single colour in it, so you can look and see what they all knit up like.
But this cowl's actually
yours,
and it's crocheted. So quite often, as a crochet designer, I tend to steer clear of marls, because when you add the length of a crochet stitch to it, it can just be too much. But actually, I believe that every single one of the allotment yarns would work for crochet, which normally I would say don't do it, but actually with this one I would say jump on in, because it will crochet beautifully as well.
It's because they're so subtle, isn't it? Because actually a lot of the tops colours, the starting colours, are so similar to each other, a lot of them. So
we used a lot of neutrals in there, so the neutral and the olive one got used in quite a few to just sort of tone them down a bit. But the other thing is where this blend has Jacob in it, the Jacob we have at the moment is a nice sort of fawny tan colour, because again, where the Jacobs have different patches of colour on them, you're never going to get the same from lot to lot, but we bought a lot of Jacob, and it's a beautiful sort of sandy brown, but that means it just tones everything down, and it's got that nice warm undertone to it. It's done in the same ratio as the Harvest Hues, so it's 35% is the Jacob, and the rest in this one is Merino. The other thing we didn't mention about the Harvest Hues is that it's now got BFL in it, so it's got the same blend as in the new Knit by Numbers that is coming, but Knit by Numbers has been 100% Merino, and is now going to be 50% BFL, because we're trying to make it a bit more British, a bit more hard wearing, it's a little bit shinier.
So we've got some of that to show you as well, and then I think that might be the end of show and tell.
So where we've changed what's going in, I changed 100% Merino to 50% BFL, that also goes into the Harvest Hues, which means the Harvest Hues is now 33% Merino, 33% BFL, and 33% Swabbles. So again, we're excited for that one. We haven't done very much with it yet because it's only been available for hand dyers so far, but one of the hand dyers that's on the stand, Ginger Pink Yarns, has dyed both the Knit by Numbers and the Harvest Hues, so you can see what they're like in coloured versions as well. But yeah, so.
And Donna's knitted a sample, very helpful.
Donna knitted this sample, which is one of Kate Daly's ones. That one from Sark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kate Daly's Sark book.
So beautiful.
I've been knitting with this as well. I haven't finished it and definitely couldn't wear it here because it's a big fluffy brioche with mohair jumper, and it's lovely. It's super squishy.
So chilling.
Just thinking about it, it's
nearly done, but it's not knitting for this time of year, sadly. So I'll go back to it when it cools down a bit.
So that's a really big job because knit by numbers is how many colours? 80, 90?
It's 121 colours, but we are retiring royal blue. And we are also changing the yellow. That's what's changing with the knit by numbers. But the new knit by numbers in DK should start appearing around September time, we hope. Again, trying to fit that into the schedule to actually spin some.
Isn't it spinning right now?
It is. If you go on a tour, that is what is on the machines. Is you can see them making the first of the new colours. I mean, it's the exact same colours, but in the new blend. So yes, it is coming through. It takes a very long time to make that many colours of knit by numbers, especially when it has to go on a smaller machine that doesn't spin as fast. So
and 4-ply and DK.
Yes. So at the moment, we're just going to try and get the DK.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we've done the DK, we'll get back onto. We'll also put the 4-ply. But that is the reason why currently all of our existing stock of knit by numbers is on sale, because we're trying to clear all of that out in order to have space to put the new stuff.
So please take it away.
Yes. Where it has so many colours, it does actually take up something like a third of our overall stock holding, and I think possibly more than that in value because the merino is so expensive. Just some of the other stuff is a lot cheaper. From
The only trouble with something like knit by numbers is that I want the whole range.
Yes, it's difficult, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it's one of those ones that every single process to do with knit by numbers is hard work because there's so many. But it's the sort of thing where there's nowhere we could ever stop having it because it's so magical and everybody loves it. And it's just every so often we go, could we discontinue? No, we can't discontinue. No. It's like we don't want to, it's just that counting it takes forever.
And I guess at shows as well, that's a big amount to take to a show. Because if you've never seen these, their stand set up at a show, what you've got out there is very similar to what's at a show.
That's ever so slightly bigger, but that's all really. But the rainbow wall of knit by numbers is great and we love it, but it is very hard work, and where it is a gradient of 6 versions of the same colour, when they don't have a label on them, some of them are really close, and also, again, as mistakes happen, sometimes things do just get put through wrong because one person just didn't twig at some point. So not so much in the past while, but when I first started, literally every time we made a run of knit by numbers, we'd do one of the colours wrong. Something in it would be wrong. It would be spun to the wrong weight. The colour would be slightly wrong. Something else, it would just go through, and eventually we'd go, oh yeah, that's this one's dud, and end up in the set we are. But it's just very hard work knit by numbers, but it is great. And
it's amazing to work with.
It's just so many fun things that you can do with it when you've got that many colours, as well as the gradient, and lots of people do like little mini skein sets and pick their own colours for things and stuff, which we really like. And we did used to have some hand-picked colour ones when we originally did the mini skeins. We had little sets that you could buy that were chosen by the mill folk, and we have been thinking we will do that again at some point. But
when there's time.
The new knit by numbers has to actually come first.
Is anyone excited about the new blend and trying it out? And I'm genuine. I love merino, but I really love the British breed story, and it's got a slightly different handle to it, and I'm getting my knitting needles and my crochet hook into that tonight. That's my job, is to have a little play with it, and just see what happens with it. But it's nice to hear that other people aren't like, oh no, the merino's going. That there's some actual joy that it's going to be VFL. And
it's a bit drapier, isn't it? It's
a little bit shinier.
More shinier as well. There's more lustre in there, and it's just. I love a little bit of crunch. That's like a really good yarn that I want to play with.
We're just trying to get it to be a little bit more, British wool. We buy an awful lot of wool from the Wool Board, who are based in South Malton. They're just down the road from our mill.
Oh, wow.
So we buy, we can go down there and look and go, can we have this please, if we like. But we buy quite a lot of stuff from them, but we've also signed up to their new traceable system. So all of the wool that we have bought, because they only started in September last year, is fully traceable through the Wool Board all the way back. So we know exactly which collection of farms went into any yarn we make going forward. So quite a lot of our stock in existence at the moment is obviously previous, where we have one layer we sort of know, but we don't know specifically. But everything that we have bought greasy from the wool board since September is now fully traceable, and we pay an uplift on that so that the farmers get a bit extra money.
Which is great. So it's, how much is it per kilo?
We pay an extra 25p and they get something like 20 or 22p out of that, and the rest is just the admin thing because they've got to process it. And we'll probably be talking more about that one on Sunday when Aaron from the wool board will be here. But yeah, that's
But I think that's another thing, is like trying to do it all as kind of ethically as possible. So we haven't really had a chance to mention the fact that it's all traceable, or like it would be great to go and visit some of those farms and take some photos and stuff. But I think when we heard that so much of that extra uplift was going to the farmers, it's like, even if we're not actually doing anything with that information, it's just something that like the two of us felt was the right thing to do, you know? So.
Because it's all bought at auction.
There'll be an article.
Yes, it's written. It just needs proofreading.
Yes. Where everything you buy from the wool board is bought at auction, so we can sort of set the upper limit of what we're willing to pay for something, but they obviously will only charge us whatever the top thing it got to. So we don't, it's a bit harder for us to go, well, we'd like to pay this much for it, but at least this way we're adding a bit extra to it. So, for instance, with BFL, the price varies quite widely, because we just bought the last of the season's lot from South Molton, and it cost us, I think, £1.60 a kilo greasy without the uplift, whereas the lot that we bought in October was more like £3.30. So it can vary quite a bit for some. BFL is very popular, so it tends to do that, and we buy the second grade because the first grade is gold dust, and we don't think it's worth paying 4 or 5 times as much as every other wool for it when everyone else is fighting for that, when there's plenty of the other stuff which is perfectly good. So we do that.
With that, who's buying that? No, but I mean,
Other
who's
people.
paying gold dust price?
Other yarn companies.
Oh, really?
Hand knitting yarn companies.
Right, okay.
So that's the thing. There's not very many people who are competing for those things, because most of the really big companies, they're not going to pay that. They wouldn't even really want to pay that £1.60. They want to pay about 10p.
And they're definitely not paying the uplift.
No, they're not paying the uplift. And I think Laxton's are paying the uplift on their own brand yarn, but like quite a lot of just general commercial stuff probably won't be paying for that unless they saw the business case for the marketing, because you get like the next step up of the wool mark. So, but yeah, mostly the things that are impossible to get hold of are Wensleydale and the high quality blue-faced Leicester. And it's partly because a lot of those are going in private sales because people are undercutting the wool board and going directly to the farmer to try and get the stuff without them having to go through that. Like, it's fine. I mean, we don't mind, but they're obviously having to pay to get that. Or it's other people who are in the same industry as us but really specifically want that thing. So they go for that. Whereas where we've got much wider range of yarns and different things, we're not so picky about which particular thing goes in. We want to buy, our idea is we want to use what's available. So don't fight for that thing and pay £10 a kilo for it when there's not very much, when there's all this other stuff over here
lovely
that someone needs to buy, so why not buy that? So we've bought an awful lot.
Some sort of traceability logo for wool board or something?
Yes, so the wool board...
How long will that then appear on your product?
Well, where it can take a couple of years for the actual wool to trickle through the system, because we have to buy it greasy and then it gets variously processed, like, it's got to be scoured, it's got to be combed, it's got to be dyed, then it will end up at the mill and then it will eventually get made into yarn. So for some things we've got quite a lot of stock that we already had, so it might take a really long time for us to get to that point with some yarns. Other things turn over a lot quicker, so it will turn up, but probably next year we'll start having it, be able to say, yes, what we've got of this yarn is now definitely all traceable. But yeah, basically the wool board have their wool mark that you can see on labels and things, and they've just got, this is like the top level version of it. They've got one now, but there aren't.
Very
I think,
new, though.
I think Laxton's have literally launched their traceable one this week, but I think they're the only other yarn company that is doing it, because when we started doing it, we were the first one.
Yeah.
And the only other companies that were doing it were ones like that do duvets or rugs or other kind of homewares that are very much going for the British point of view to sell to overseas customers.
One of the things I really liked about your yarns and open weekends especially is that you talk about the different qualities of the different yarns and what they're good, how they're best used, or what their different sort of gear is. Is there any difference that you can tell from the new knit by numbers to the old one?
A little bit more drapey. It's a little bit more hard wearing. What do you reckon, Sonja?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more hard wearing. It's definitely a bit drape, like the original knit by numbers. It's very dense, and it's sort of like you'll block it and it'll relax, and then in time it'll like shrink into itself. It's just it kind of wants to be a cable, or it wants to be like it's just sort of, because the fibre is so soft, it's sort of almost felting itself a little bit. So I think this won't do that so much. Yeah.
It's still very, very soft.
But it's still definitely soft enough to wear next to the skin for most folks, I'd say. But yeah, I think it'll be a little bit more like Yarnadelic, so a bit more drapey, a little bit shinier. Well, shinier than Yarnadelic it looks, but yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. If folks are interested in, like specific how yarn is sourced and spun, there is a talk on Sunday that there's one of the head graders from the wallboard down the road, master graders, is coming, and he's bringing a Jacob fleece and an Exmoor Blueface fleece. So if you're still around on Sunday, come to that. And then it's Andrew as well, who we buy all of our non-UK based fibre from. And then John will be talking about the logistics of... Yeah, John will make an appearance. Swan in, fresh off the beach. Yeah.
Are you going to be taping that? Because I can't hear.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, Bex is here taping everything for us.
Thank you, Bex. Did anyone have any other questions?
Did anybody write any questions down? Because I haven't gathered them in. Or were you all good? No.
Do you have any other questions?
Did you notice how easy or difficult the decision was a year or so ago?
Oh, to buy it?
Yeah.
It was straight.
Sorry, did everybody hear that at the back? You were asking whether it was a difficult decision to buy the mill, basically, from John and Julia. Is that right? Have I got
Yeah, so it was almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, obviously after the first wave of the pandemic, where John and Juliet went, we actually think we'd like to retire now, and approached the handful of people at the mill who had previously said they might be interested in, taking it on or having more of a manager role. And then it was mostly just the logistics of, is this even possible? How are we going to do this? This is a business, and we just work here. We don't earn that much money. So they've very kindly done it on a long credit agreement. So they still essentially own a big stake of the company, and we're just paying them off as we go.
Like a mortgage, I guess.
Yeah, which was basically, they could have just gone, we'll take our large portion of money, this person here is waving some cash in our face, but this is John's life, and he very much didn't want to do that, and also a lot of companies or people who would have done that would have just taken it to parts. So they very much wanted to make sure it stayed with people who wanted to keep going, and obviously we were essentially already doing quite a lot of the managing that we're doing now, not to the same level, but quite a lot of it, so it sort of seemed natural. And then it just took 2.5 years.
Yeah.
A year and a half. We've been doing it for a year now.
I don't think either of our jobs have actually changed. We've both added extra jobs.
Shed a few. We did a few.
And we've shed a couple onto other people.
So
But
we
it is a
hired-
very natural progression. Like it was a very natural progression, really.
You used to do all the marketing on your own, and now you have two other
Exactly.
people to help you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, I used to do all of the wholesale, and now I have a whole other person, Rebecca, who's not here today, but she will be tomorrow, who
Yeah.
does all of that. And then, again, I don't tend to do the machine side of things, but we've hired more and more people to fill the gaps where needed.
So I think it was really the cash flow and then also the actual fibre purchasing were the two things we really had nothing to do with. But everything else we were kind of to one level or not doing anyway. But also a lot of it is very collaborative at the mill, and we do kind of operate in a way where if someone's interested in something or if someone shows an aptitude towards it, then unless
their
they
job
want
now.
to, exactly, you know, like anyone who shows even the slightest enthusiasm will be given lots of responsibility.
That's pretty much how we ended up in this position. We were hired alongside all the other people, and some of those people are still doing the exact same job they were doing 5 or 6 years ago because that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
They're not interested in anything extra, whereas we got there and then just kept being given more things because we kept doing more
Doing
things. So, yes.
So, but it's a nice place to work from that point of view. Like isn't much like ego or hierarchy, and you know, yeah, like everyone just gets
Pulled
on with
right
it.
off your high horse if you even try to get on it, basically. Yeah, we have a nice time.
Yeah,
It's a fun place to work.
Have you all been on a mill tour, or are you going on one? I know some people go time and time again, every open weekend they just go on another mill tour because there's always something else to see. So are there any spaces available if anybody hasn't booked onto one for this weekend?
Yes, there is a lunchtime one available tomorrow, and there are a few available on Sunday. The only one that was
Yeah,
available
they're
today
all-
was at the same time as this.
So you've missed it.
Not today.
And does anybody have any other questions that you would like to ask? Go for it.
Thinking, you also spin a lot of yarn for other small businesses, don't you? Could you just say a bit about how that side of thing works, how people approach you, how you decide which ones to take? Because that must take a lot of time and resources.
Yeah, so our main customer that we do spinning for is Marie Wallen, who make her British Breeds range. She's got a new version of that coming for next year.
Oh, really?
Can't tell you any more than that. But
You're getting all the gossip.
that one is one that John and Juliet took on a few years ago, and it takes up about a quarter of our spinning capacity just to produce her yarn, which is what keeps Kevin going quite a lot.
Yeah.
But that one uses our Devonia blend with some Zwabbles in it. So again, with what's going to come through quicker on the traceable is probably Devonia, because we shed through quite a lot of that quite quickly because we make quite a lot of her yarn as well as our own. We've also had Rachel, daughter of a shepherd, who's just outside that door, as a customer ever since the beginning. John set that one up, so we still make several of her yarns. So those ones, we've had long-standing customers. We have a few others who we've been doing for a very long time, and then quite a few newer ones we've been working with. But generally, anyone who approaches us, we just sort of, they get sort of lumped in with our stockists effectively from a marketing point of view, because that tends to be who it is that wants it. And they get, there's just information the same way that if you want to buy our yarns, this is the information we need from you and what we have available that we can mix and match with to make a yarn for you. So that's what we did with Beth Telling Yarns, who's in the room at the back. She just sort of went, oh, what can I have? Because she was dying on our Devonia. And then she was like, actually, I think I might want to try something else. So then we were just having a discussion of, well, what kind of fibres do you want? What are you looking for in this? And so it was like, well, here's all the samples of the fibre you might like, and this is the qualities that they would bring. Work out a vague formula of what you think you might like, and then it said, well, what spec of yarn do you want to do? And then we make some and see how it goes from there. And then, we have a few people who are sort of repeat customers, and then every so often we'll get a one-off. But again, it's sort of filling the gaps on the smaller spinner, because Kevin is busy all the time, either making our main ranges or Marie's yarn, so everything else goes in Butler. So it's just sort of, we fit them in amongst where we haven't been making a lot of knit by numbers for a while because obviously we've been getting rid of it and changing it around. So for the past year, we've had quite a lot of time to fit in extra jobs. But even when knit by numbers is fully back up to speed, it won't be a constant thing. So there's always time to add something else in, and it's fun for us because it's a bit like designing the thing. We get, oh, what do you want? And we make these yarns, and then we're like, damn, we should have made that for us.
Especially with Beth's yarn. Has everyone seen Beth's yarn? It's insane. It's so beautiful, and the colours she dyes are just.
We've done one for Cat and Sparrow that we've got as the next hand-dyed special that will come out as a mill member special.
Soon.
But that is on. She's got one that is 90% Romney with 10% silk. It's beautiful.
It's
yarn.
really gorgeous.
So yes, that was another one where we were like, oh, why did we sell that to her? We wanted that.
And then, like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but a lot of hand dyers tend to buy a lot of their yarn just from one company. So you can look at it and you'd be like, oh look, that's an 80-20 high twist sock, yada yada yada. It's all the same, so it's really lovely that hand dyers are now coming to you and saying, can I have a custom spin? Can I use your bases? Because it just makes it so much more interesting to work with.
We do offer all of the natural versions of our ranges pretty much for hand dyeing. There's a couple that we haven't yet, but we're working towards that, basically, that any of our ranges, there will be a natural version of it and it will be available for people to dye on, because again, we have that stand out there for us to shop at.
Yeah.
We sort of let you have a look as well, but it's mostly just for the staff.
There's quite a lot of it that doesn't even make it out.
Some of it doesn't even make it to the stand. There's some that went missing before that.
So who have you got out there? So what? Because you've got
we've got a stand that's right by the info desk.
Yeah.
So we've got Nervous Fibre. She's based up in Scotland.
Beautiful colours.
Charlotte does very beautiful things. We've got Nellie and Eve, based in Wales.
Naturally dyed.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And as tops as well.
There's tops as well as yarn for Nellie and Eve. We've got Boho Yarns, which is from Germany, and she's done on Appledore lace and Exmoor sock. She doesn't give anybody else any of her yarn. She only sells it herself or through us because she loves our yarn so much. We have Ovis, etc., who she has her custom blend sock yarn called Close, which has Devon close wool in it.
Yeah, and that is like a high twist, no nylon, like sock yarn. So it's got lots of really durable things in it. So if anyone is interested in nylon-free sock yarn, it's a good one to go for.
Yeah, we said we've got Ginger Pink, who has dyed on the Knit by Numbers in the Harvest Hues, and we've got Lola at Third Volt Yarns, Appledore and Exmoor sock, and Felt Fusion. I think that's all Exmoor sock. Nice bright colours.
They're amazing.
Yeah. And
Alice at Walmart.
Alice at Walmart does. There was 8. I don't know if I did 8. There's lots of them.
Go and look at them.
Yeah,
they're very nice.
Lots of very nice things out there.
I have no idea what time we were meant to finish. I think we probably
We're at the time. Yeah.
Was it an hour?
Yeah,
I'm such a good host. I didn't even know how long I was going to keep me here for. Any final questions? Or are we all good? Do you feel like you've asked everything you needed to ask with these two? We've got one more.
Any more Squish colours?
Oh, we should, shouldn't we? It was
We
so
were
nice.
saying we
that.
might do for winter again.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of random alpaca that needs putting in something, and Squish was
It
very
was
nice.
great,
we all had
wasn't
some
it?
Squish as well. This is the other thing.
What
Whenever we make
colour should
special,
we do? What do you want?
pick a colour, quick. Yeah, I guess so. We've got like white alpaca and browny black alpaca,
It'd be nice to do like a bluey kind
Which was
of
why we
thing,
had the,
like
like,
greeny
dark.
thing. We could do dark ones,
Yeah.
couldn't we?
I also loved the dark Knit by Numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
That was nice, wasn't it? Yeah.
I was told off because I put that in the chat in the virtual mill open weekend 2 years ago. And so they came back, she was like, shut up, we can't do more than my number, stop this. It was
realistically, this is essentially dark Knit by Numbers because it's got a third warbles in it. That was also part of the thing. We made some of them and we looked at it and went, oh, it's just Harvest Hues. We've just made Harvest Hues again.
Yeah, that is part of what happened.
So yeah, that's And the Harvest Hues, the 4-ply is spun to the same spec as the knit by numbers, so you could use them together.
They're definitely interchangeable.
Where the knit by numbers has a DK and the Harvest Hues has a worsted, doesn't work for the higher ones, but for the 4-ply they're the exact same spec, so they are a bit interchangeable.
I've thought of one more question.
Go on.
Do you now do minis for all of your ranges?
Most. Again, there's a couple we haven't got to, sort of the Alpaca Supreme and the Warbles, so these ones are waiting for their revamps. There's only so many Sonja can cope with. They keep trying to make her do more and then she cries.
I do cry sometimes.
So there's a couple of ranges that are still waiting for their revamp on. Are we having more colours or blends? So like the Exmoor's Warbles, we're looking at adding more different fibre blends.
Yeah.
Fleshing that one out, and again making it available for hand dyers.
Okay.
And then Alpaca Supreme will also change because that also uses the Merino. So it will change in some way, shape or form, but we don't know yet.
No.
So I have one final but also a request, because sometimes you're working on things 2 years in advance. So what are you working on now that we will maybe hear about next year's open weekend or the year after? Is there anything?
The only thing that we definitely know we're doing that we are not doing anytime soon is apple door Aran. So the same thickness as Squish, but with apple door, we're going to do that. So I think we're just trying to add more weights of things as well.
Yeah, so basically we've been looking at every range and going, does this need more colours? Does it need another weight? Does it need a complete revamp? So we are looking at the Warbles, the Alpaca Supreme. We are going to do Apple door Aran at some point, and then it's more like, does this need a few more colours? Has it made it to 20 yet?
30 plus.
When they're all at 20, I don't know what we're going to do.
We'll go to 30, 25.
Okay.
You can see how it works between them.
Going to need another building.
That's like Jaws, we're going to need a bigger boat. This is what you need. Can we please put our hands together and say thank you very much. Thank you very much. I feel like you got a lot of insider information there.
Can I also just say thank you all for coming to the open weekend, because if you hadn't have all turned up, we wouldn't be allowed to do. Helena wouldn't let me do it again next year. So thank you and enjoy yourselves.
Yes, thank you very much.